Hey YouTube! Yeah, so this is the custom thinline Telecaster, which I was playing last week's live stream a bit before I set it up, and I had it up at Scott's for Tele Tuesday, whatever it was I called the video, part 3. I took up 3 Telecasters. I haven't actually put that one live yet, so whether this one's first or not, we don't know. Yes, so this is my pal Ronnie's, and it's actually, that's something I was going to check. What's the bridge spacing? It's a 50mm wide bridge, so it's the same as Sun Mustangs, some Yamaha Pacificas, so it's slightly thinner string spacing, like 50mm instead of 54. Is that 54 the normal? I can't see it there. Strat, that'll do. Yeah, 54mm is the normal. So it's 50mm, so it's 2mm on either side, 4mm in total, thinner at the bridge, which does make it awkward for putting another neck on and changing the bridge, because if you've got even just a couple of mil wider, the strings don't sit over the fretboard. This has an incredibly small neck, kind of like the Sun Mustangs, to be honest, where it feels really, really, really thin here, like this way, the nut, and it's like it's 40mm instead of 42, so it doesn't make much. But it's thin that way as well. It's just basically, it'd be a fantastic kit. I wish they should make guitars like this. It's also thin. Again, not sure about the thin line thing. When I saw this, I was like, I wonder if that's why it's called a thin line, because it's thin. So this comes in at, I would say that's 37mm thick, whereas a normal Telecaster, assuming this FGN is normal, is kind of, is it not 44 or something normal? Hold on. What do you mean? What measure? Do this stuff before I start the video? No. There's a big rusty mark on. I found this in the garage the other night. 44. So it's almost, it's 8mm thinner than, assuming that's a standard telly, which I think it is. Well, it's a standard thickness. So thin, light, got an F-hole. I'm not sure exactly how much of this is hollow. Yeah. Kind of as I thought. It's like when you've got like a thin line, it doesn't mean the whole guitar's hollow. I can take the angle so you can actually see the F-hole. One of the things I have to talk to Ronnie earlier on is just that wobbly input jack. Put them off. All hail the switch cleaner. Yeah. So thin line, thin line, thin line, thin. The tuners on this, my pals, the tuners are pretty naff. They're like crunchy and stuff like that. I basically got stuff in Lidl. A sort of spray multi-purpose oil, which so basically took the tuners to bits and sprayed the wee gear wheel inside it, because you can take the backs off this type of tuner. You know, they're not sealed units. And then just with a winder, just wound it so that the cog went, I don't know how many times it took to get an entire rotation, and they now seem actually pretty good. That's going to be an option I'm going to be using on things. Just, I think this guitar, I don't think it's been played very much. Unfortunately, as you saw up at Scott, somebody has had a go at, I think they tried to roll the fingerboard edges, and they've kind of overdone it a little bit. The edges of the frets are very flat and below the 2 E strings. It's like, you know, if you imagine, you know, there's the what can I use? Use that? Is that big enough? Yeah. So if you imagine, it's like there's the edge of your fingerboard, which is very, very square. Instead of just doing, you know, like a wee, they've kind of come in too far, so that they've kind of flattened it down in below E strings. So they're kind of not bad, not unplayable. I've definitely still fucking better than Harley Benton, my god. But just annoyingly, it could be a little bit better if that hadn't been done. The guitar itself still works quite well, and it's one of those ones that's just beautiful to play. The smallness, it makes sense. Does that make sense? That it seems to make sense. There's a line somewhere where it doesn't feel expensive, but it feels really good. You know, it's like kind of like maybe that I had a Dan Electro a few weeks ago, and it's like I had that thing going on where it's like, but it plays and sounds and feels really good. Why? How can it when it was made on, you know, MDF and bits of motorbike spring and stuff, the way Dan Electros are, or proper Dan Electros are, but it totally works. And it's got I took it to bits. There's no indication of. I was looking for like a Maxon serial number or something in the back of the pickups. There's nothing like that. They've got like a metal plate in below the cover, which you have to unsolder off to actually even see what's inside it. But it must be some sort of humbucker because it's got 2 sets of poles. Oh, I mean, these can't have been cheap to make. You know, it's not like nowadays when you can just go and, if you're building, you know, like a budget guitar, you just order the parts. You're probably going to make it in China. This is Japanese. You're just going to order the parts and out of a bucket of stuff, and you can get, you know, humbuckers. They're all the same size, all generic, dead easy to buy source parts. These must have been made specifically because they're wider and squarer than normal humbuckers, so they're a different shape. You couldn't just plop a normal humbucker in there. Do I have a normal humbucker lying about? There's one there. Well, there's bits of one. You can see, look at the difference in size. That's it in line. If I didn't my finger there, you can see that's just the cover. So you're not really going to be able to. It's going to be basically, if you get one of these, you kind of want to keep it stock if you can, because pig to get a bridge, pig to get pickups that fit in the holes, you'd have to make a new scratch plate. Pig to replace the neck because it'll be a thinner. It's normally 53 millimeters on a 53, 63 heel on these things, and this one will be less than that. This one will be coming in at. Oh, okay, this one comes in at 53, so maybe the heel size is the same. Yeah. So we've got 2 wide range humbuckers. Bridge. Both on. Also, I need to cut the nut, which I've not done yet. It's just a wee bit high. The other string seems to be okay, it's just the fat E seems to be a bit higher up than all the other ones. Bridge. knock the volume down by mistake there. Oh, baby magpie outside. Fuzz! How's the new tuner? To be honest here, this scores very highly for me. If I had picked this up as a doer and fixer-upper, or picked it up as a broken guitar, which, to be honest, with a name like Custom, it's not easy to find. What's worse than vintage guitar, because at least there's lots of vintage, the brand guitars kicking about. Put in Custom guitar, you're going to get ones that someone's made, aren't you? Scott reckoned if you remember seeing these kicking about in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't know. Then I forgot to look at my Antoria. The font where it says Custom and the sort of mother of pearly stuff is the same font as the one that says Antoria, which doesn't necessarily mean there is an Antoria version of it or anything like that. What I think it means is in Japan, the company that made decals made them for this as well as for Ibanez and all that. So there's lots of, back in the late 70s. I'm thinking it's late 70s, early 80s, or maybe 70s, early 80s, I think. Something like that. Definitely got some age to it. The neck is wonderful. Is it a one piece? It's not a one piece, but it's lovely. It really, it's such a nice, it's such a wee guitar, but it's that thing about having like a really small, I was saying there about, it's like the difference between a jazz bass and a P bass neck nut width is like 40mm and 42mm. A normal guitar's 42, this is 40, so it feels small. Everything feels smaller about it. It is still, I'm going to double check, but I'm 95% sure it's standard scale, it's 25.5 inch scale length. Yes, I'm now 100% sure it's a 25.5 inch scale length, so it's full size. But just by being like, was it 8mm or 6mm thinner, the neck, the bridge being 4mm thinner, and the neck, and the actual neck itself being very thin, it just feels wee. I mean, what a fantastic guitar for like a smaller person or a lady, or a rocker. Obviously, you can rock it quite easily. It's just like, see, because somebody's filed those frets down, it's really annoying when you get something like that. It wasn't the guitar's fault. It wasn't like that. Somebody's done that. Somebody's thought, I'm going to file the frets flat at the edges, so it's like totally fine under the other strings. It's just when you're under the E, maybe it's a little bit on the spanky side, which gives it a sound, to be honest. This is the best thinline telly I've ever played. I've played half a dozen. I even owned one. It was a Chinese copy of one, but it wasn't. This is what I feel a thinline telly should be. It should be thin and a little bit different. Whereas the telly, the few that I've played have basically been a telly with an F-hole in it. But as I said, being the semi-hollow thing, the actual bit that's hollow is kind of that, it goes about an inch here and about an inch here, and it's basically just a hollow bit in below this F-hole. It's not like the whole guitar, like an acoustic where the whole guitar's hollow. It's not like that. Well, there'll be a certain amount of hollowness below the scratch plate, but you get that in any guitar. Yeah, so all I really need to do to this now, that input jack's no longer making a noise. So that's sorted. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a wee bit of a file of that E string, because that's not the original nut either. It kind of looks like someone might have made it. They've done a relatively good job of it, but it kind of overhangs a little bit. The actual, you can see it there. See it, there even. It just overhangs, just only not even a millimetre, but just a little bit, enough to make you go. But that's not something, I don't know. That's not really something I would do unless I was specifically asked to do it. That wouldn't come in under my setup. Just because it's the sort of thing that you just get like a wee bit of sandpaper and be very careful with it. Just when you're sitting watching telly. It's not a tech thing, really. It's just a sitting being fidgety thing. The kind of thing you can do yourself, no problem. You're not actually interfering with. Not talking about cutting the nut. Don't be very careful if you're going to decide to try and cut the nut slot. I'm just talking about actually just the fact that it overhangs by half a millimetre. Just being careful not to scratch the wood behind it. You could just get that down a wee bit. To be honest, I might do that before Ronnie comes round. He's just messaging me there. That's why I'm doing this video in a bit of a rush. So again, custom. It's another one I'm going to be keeping my eye open for. It's got a lot of traits kind of similar to the Tempest, I think. Just that much better than it should be. No. Aye. It's got that kind of... I'm not going to use the word quirky, because when I say like a guitar's quirky, like the wee Sakai one, it's quirky as in you can't tune it, and it's got a unique sound. No, it just feels a bit... It feels different, but it sounds and it's in tune. It plays really well. It feels nice. There's just something about it that's got that sort of trashy thing going on. I don't know what that is. Just is it a combination of things? A combination of it being quite thin, and a combination of it's got the mother of toilet seat scratch plate, which is actually quite as far as mother of toilet seat scratch plates go. It's quite nice. It's not too garish. I mean, there's a Godin. I haven't seen one for it. It's like Radiator, it's called. It's covered in it, and it's pure. It's pure ridiculous. That's just a little bit of a sparkle in it. Quite nice. pickups sound fantastic. I think they are, like when I say they're copies of the Fender wide range ones. You can obviously get modern pickups where you can even just buy a cover for like a normal. If you imagine a normal Les Paul pickup cover that's got it's got 6 holes in it, so you can adjust the 6 adjustable poles. You can buy that cover that's got 3 holes along one coil and 3 holes along the other, so it kind of looks like this. That's not what this is. I think this is. If I didn't want to break it, take it to bits, I think it might be a little bit more like a P-bass pickup in below here. Where you've got, the 2 halves, but maybe not the whole. The coils are probably full size, but it might only have pole pieces here. So the coil is full width, but there's only pole pieces for these 3 and these 3. So you get that sort of, it's a humbucker, but it's not, because this you're not sampling the two out of phase and in series coils are not sampling the same string. One of them sampling the top 3 strings and the other one sampling the bottom 3 strings, and then they're made into a humbucker, which gives you a much more. That's how a P-bass pickup works, basically. And those Aria Pro ones, which kind of look like a P-bass pickup in a cover, when you actually go in below the cover, the coils are full width, but they've only got pole pieces on one of them for this side and then pole pieces on the other one for that side. So it's a similar sort of thing. But you can really get your Hendrix chords on. You can just look for. So excellent guitar. It's annoying about that fret thing, but it probably. I think I talked about this with Scott. It's one of those things that's like, if you did it up, you would have a guitar, what's it going to cost you, 150 quid, 200 quid for a refret. It's worth it, but it's not monetary value of the guitar because it's a custom. If it said Ibanez on it, maybe, if it'd been exactly the same guitar, but it said Ibanez on it, then maybe it would be different, which it feasibly could be. There might be an Ibanez version of this. I doubt very much. None of these companies will be making, your customs and your Tempests and Arbiter and Avon Rose Morris and Shaftesbury. None of them will be making. They don't make guitars. They just buy them from factories in Japan. It's not just going to be one make. There's no way. You can definitely get this with other brands on it. I've never seen one, but you definitely can. Same with something like that Tempest. I've not found it yet either. Although Paul Gilbert was playing his latest album. He's doing he's putting wee sort of Instagram-y sort of 1 minute or 30-second videos promoting his new Dio album, and he was playing an Ibanez Strat, which is awful like that. No, it's a different colour and it's left-handed upside down, but it's just kind of the same guitar again. So I don't know when I'll put this video out. Obviously I've done it. It was one of the ones that was what's in the bag. With Scott's, I took round 3 Telecasters, and I figured already put out 3 videos yesterday. I did go and walking about Bothwell Castle, which I'm going to do a bit more of that. See, I had no idea that was there. Never even heard of it. And it's in Bothwell, whatever that is. Where's Bothwell? Not that far away from the Polski kebab place in Motherwell. So Uddingston, somewhere around about that. There's so many places like that I know of. But there's also so many that I've never even heard of. Huh. And I would never have known about Archibald the Grim. It's like I quite like to be the Grim. Not someone you mess with. My pal G would have loved that. We just always just called him Cravat. But actually, he would have loved to be G the Grim. I need to tell him that. And I've still not been to. I've had no guitar safaris up to Stirling at all. See if I can get to Stirling. I know we're doing Castle as I've been there before. It's okay, it's a wee bit beyond Stirling. If I'm going to Perth, for example, you drive past it. But that's Doon Castle. Scone, Doon. One of the two. The Monty Python Holy Grail Castle. But they're all over the place here. For all the Americans and stuff. I think I made a comment about that when I was walking around. I didn't even take the GoPro, it was just my phone. When I was walking around it after our wee after kebab walk with Troy for 10 minutes. I mentioned that, yeah, Americans will love this. They don't have stuff like that. It was 13th century or something like that. America, but Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, so it's like 200 years before we even knew America was there. Obviously America was there, but didn't know it was there. And even then, when did Columbus not end up at the West Indies, assuming it was India, the other side of India? I assumed he'd gone around the whole world. He didn't know that he'd missed a big bit in the middle. He's like, oh, here you go, America, the wee bit with the West Indies. It's like, no, there's a big massive bit at the bottom called South America and a big massive bit at the top, which he'd missed. So they were well not existing when that castle was built. It's quite mad when you think about these things. Anyhow, I have rabbited on. I was so successful yesterday. No, it's now half an hour ago doing a video and trying it to amps. I was like, I'm going to try and make it 10 minutes to try and beat this YouTube algorithm, because I don't think I get the... I know it's stupid. I do my thing. I want to do my thing, but the people are much cleverer, much more sane than me. Not Mad Malco. Sane Malco would have pandered to the algorithm to get more views and get it shown up in more feeds and stuff like that. So if you could like and subscribe, that would help a lot, or even just like it. That would push me up, and then I would end up with something. I might even make money at YouTube. There might be a Patreon thing coming up as well. I was looking at it. So I get 100 views on every video anyway. If I got 100 people so you didn't have to pay adverts and gave me like a $5 a month, that's 500 quid. Whoa. And then I could do specific things and special, and I probably wouldn't put out as many silly videos. You know, maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, I've been talking about this for ages, trying to do edited ones and all that. It's just that I keep watching edited videos and I get annoyed when they're edited. It's like, I'm not in a rush. You know, it's like, oh, I've got an 8 minute, I've got a 10-minute video. I can cut it down to 6.5 minutes if I don't leave any gaps between talking. And it's like, I find that really disconcerting to watch. When you've got somebody who's like, yes, over here, and it's like the next bit, and it's like every sentence is like chopped and stuck together, and you end up with a sort of try and be a bit more relaxing. I talk too much anyway, and I talk too fast anyway. But eventually you get used to my accent. I don't get as many comments about not understanding what I'm saying anymore. I don't think it's because I've got clearer. I think it's just, if you give a half-hour video a go, by the time you get to the end of the half hour, you've forgotten that I've got a funny accent. It's one of those things that it's human nature. As soon as you hear someone with a strange voice, because my voice is very low, like bassy, just being from Glasgow, initially it's like, and then after you go, no, hold on, understood that, oh no, I understand, alright, and then you just forget about it, don't even notice. That's certainly what I get when I meet, like, when I'm down at downloads, and it's like my pal Wayne, he's like, alright, my love, for the first 3 minutes it's like pure, my god, these people talk awful high, and then after that you don't notice. Rock on, catch you later.